What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Professional Opinion Show, episode 6. What is happening, brother?
I was just having this conversation about this with a new listener, and she said she asked like how deep we are into it, and it's good to know that I was close. I was wrong, but I was close. I
What'd you
I,
say?
I underbid us. We're further than I thought, dude. This is going by
Let's go.
quick. Yeah,
What'd you think we
I
were on?
said I said 4 or 5.
Awesome. Hey, well, speaking of our new listener, our new subscriber, I thought we'd kick
Yeah.
off today's episode with a couple shout outs to the folks who decided to engage and, actually throw us some love on out there and all the channels. I think we'll start with Miss Cindy. What is up, Miss Cindy?
Yes.
Miss you.
Miss
Love
Cindy
you.
Fowler, dude, the toughest of the toughest secretaries that I've ever had the pleasure of working with.
Heck yeah. Well, we love you, Miss Cindy, and miss you. Hope all is well. But I'm gonna read a couple
AKA
shout outs here.
Hellcat.
All right, we got on YouTube. We had Amanda McDow reached out, dropped us a comment to episode 4. So many truths to this. I'll have more feedback when I have some time. I'll get those down. I was deployed with Amanda. She's a rock star. Mr. Copenhagen Man, aka Reed Dallas. He commented on one of our TikToks. So that's a big part of why these kids are growing up soft these days. That was everybody gets a trophy. We got Tyler Phipps reached out. You remember Tyler, Loadmaster?
Yes,
He
I
said
know that.
when you do an episode on MLATs, I'm available for a feature. Dude, how crazy would that be if we did a big episode on MLATs and brought the squad in?
I don't know about
Uh,
that, dude. I only remember half of
yeah,
them.
yeah, we'll hold off on that.
Yeah,
Oh, we got Mrs. Barbara Rose Wayrung reached out and said, "Love you two so much." Dropped us a comment.
biased.
My wife is finally listening to the show. So I think she just wanted to make sure I was actually down here doing something productive. So
Fair.
shout out to the wives for letting us carve out some time to do this. And then we got my guy, Ron Baker, one of my good buddies, Ron. Actually, the one you had a mutual friend with reached out. He's been plowing through them all. I had lots of comments and stuff. One of my good buddies.
That's the
He
one that
told me
said
he
I'm
loved
a
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Is he wrong, though? I mean,
No,
no, just
not at
keeping it
all.
real. Hey, he did have a good question, though, and one that I thought would be relevant to the audience. He really loved the feedback idea, reaching out to your kids. He's got little ones like mine, actually younger than mine. He was wondering what age that you did that on, or when you started that, how old they were.
So again, man, way too early initially, right? But it's just because I thought again, right? I will say this. I started as early as I did because girls girls mature faster, dude, right? Like and just I would say I can't tell you like a good age, right? Because I think it's like so I'll relate it to this, right? Or try to tie it together with this. And in my profession in strength and conditioning, they used to say that science said that, you can't weight train with kids early because it closes growth plates and da 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 da. Da. Well, come to find out, incorrect, right? The reason that your kid didn't have that growth spur is your genetics. Should have slept with someone tall, right? But so I would highly advise, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with going in early if you know that what you're getting is Disney answers. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
life is perfect, you're the best dad ever, if or mom, whoever. But that if you're trying to get like more deep rooted, it might be good for a setup, just like a practice run to just see how they take it in, like early. And if I'm saying
Hmm.
if I'm being forced to put an age to it, let's say like 9, 10, right? But for like actual like intellectual feedback, I mean, don't sell them. Don't sell your kids short. Like if they're in middle
Yeah.
school, they already have a personality established. They already have like their own what they consider deep thoughts about the world and this and that, but they've already experienced different social groups and you know what I mean? So I think it depends on your child, right? For my daughter, man, you know how they say like old soul?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It's, I've always felt that that's my daughter, right?
Hmm.
She now, bro, she thinks about things that I probably should be thinking about. But no, so I think it's very independent upon your child. But
I was gonna say for perspective, when he reached out, I was like, shoot, maybe I should give it a shot. So my son, who's 8, which I think he's a pretty mature 8-year-old relative to my daughter. But so I was like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going? What do you think?" And he went over his head. So I was like, "All right, what about scale of 1 to 10? 1, you hate me. 10, best dad ever. Where do you think I fall on that scale?" And he told me he's like 9.5, and I'm like, "Oh, interesting." I was like, "What can I do to get that 0.5 up?" And he was like, "Stop yelling at me when I leave my socks on the floor." I'm like, "All right, so we're probably not ready to have a deep conversation about that if it's just normal stuff like that." But
Or maybe
I
you
don't know.
are,
It's
dude.
interesting.
Maybe
Yeah.
the socks aren't that big of a deal, and to him, he's like, "Yo, this is not. Or why are we at alarm red right now?" But he can't comprehend that the only thing where there's the disconnect is he doesn't realize that that's problem number 53 for you that day.
Yeah.
Right? And for him, it's
Yeah.
problem number 1. And it's like, well, why do we have the tone? These are actually really good social interactions, dude, that people miss out on all the time. I just went, I'm leaving my private lesson I did this morning. Oh my God, I didn't even tie that back. Hey, you can start training your kids as soon as they're old enough to follow direction. If you tell them to get their back flat and they can do it, they can lift weights. But man, I totally just left that out there hanging. So I was training today, dude. I finished my private lesson. I'm leaving the private clubhouse that I work at to go on to my federal gig that my last day's tomorrow. But yes, dude. And I'm en route and my wife calls and there's big miscommunication with her and my son. So much so she's actually she's upset, like crying upset, right? And
Oh
the
boy.
biggest problem is they're the same people. But in order to really bring it home, the importance of what it was that I had to say, right? Then this is where I think people fall short, right? Because anything worthwhile, man, if it comes easy, it leaves the same way, right? So you got to put work in if you want something to have fruit, right? So rather than text him or tell him like, "Hey, we're going to talk later." Negative, dude. It's important. So, and I'm good at time management. So, flip my car around in the road, go back to the middle school, go up to the lady, and I'm like, "Hey, I need to see this kid." And she's like, "Oh, is he leaving?" I was like, "Nope. We're just going to do some aggressive parenting out on the sidewalk. So, if you could just get him up here, I'm going to take him outside for a minute and he'll be right back in." And she just, "Oh,
Oh,
man, yes, you know."
right.
Uh,
I don't hear that every day.
yeah, probably not. But so she called him out. We went on the sidewalk and I just broke it down to him like, "Hey, man, you have to understand tone, body language, like all these are forms of communication combined with your words that while your words are harmless, you add that wrong tone or body language in, it says something entirely different, even if that's something, the point that you're trying to convey, right? Just like, hey, can you get these socks off the floor is extremely different than get the mother socks off the, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not saying you did that, but I'm just
Oh,
saying like
yeah.
there's a totally different thing there. And I think, man, and again, this goes back to that, like, I love tech. I'm a tech nerd. We are losing that skill, dude. Interpersonal communication is like that is a skill set, and we're losing it. Like people don't know how to, I it's like my boy's about to go on a date this weekend in the movie theater.
Let's go.
Yeah. And if I had to guess, it's gonna go like this.
Silence.
Just they're literally just going to watch the movie, bro. Right? I mean, because I think like if anything, on silence with low contrast, they'll text something to each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's baffling. But I think I think you had a productive conversation with your boy, dude. I really
Oh,
do.
yeah.
I think that would so going back to your buddy's question, right? So sure, maybe your son didn't pull anything out of that, but you can break that down and actually where his headspace is, right? So now
Right.
when you go to say something like, how you need to deliver that with body language, tone, and words, right? So you essentially are parenting better just from that one feedback. So
Man.
it counts. It matters. It's just how you break that information down and digest it, right? It's the same old marital problem of like our wives will tell us 1,000 times about this great new thing and da 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 da. And we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we come home and our buddy had said it one time and we're like, hey, did you know about this great new blah blah? And they hit alarm 10, right? And they're like, you son of a bitch. I've been telling you about this for
Yeah,
2 months. Your bestie says it one time, and now it's just the best thing since sliced bread.
that's hilarious.
Happens.
Yeah, dude. No, that's actually good perspective. Cause yeah, that was like yesterday, and then today we had like a joke about. I walked in and there was a sock. And I just looked at him, and he was like, he just started laughing, like, "Dang!" So, look at you, made me a better parent in a day.
You did that.
That's why
You
I
have
hang
to
out with
have
you.
the talk.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess that's good advice. Go try it and see. I mean, you can always hold off for later if not, but yeah, check it
And
out.
it doesn't it shouldn't be. Like everybody's looking for this. I'm not trying to like constantly bring this back to like fitness, but it's that's my realm. That's what I know. It's my wheelhouse. And just like everybody's always looking for a magic pill that like, hey, if I take this powder, am I going to get swole or will I lose all this weight? No, you're going to go to the bathroom and take a dump and like shake a little bit. Or you could take it and use it to do the hard work, but you still got to do the work. There's no easy button. And so I think that like, I mean, dude, yeah, just on the things you've just said, that was fruitful. So I think people just need to understand like manage expectations, right? Like give it a
Mhm.
shot, but manage expectations. Know that if you go in early, you're not about to break down some huge psychological barrier that's going to change their
Right,
life and
yeah.
then, they're going to be billionaires, right? But like it it never hurts. Like I said, just do that little warm-up thing like you just did. You still got something out of that. And it only will
Mhm.
get better.
Yeah, for
Man, I
sure.
feel kind of bad I didn't do it
Speaking of
as often. I should have done that
yeah,
more.
it takes yeah.
I should do that
Hey, well,
now.
at
My
least you
daughter
learned
probably have
and
plenty to say.
yeah. But since you brought up, you actually touched on something there that transitions perfectly into one of the things I wanted to deep dive into this episode. Well done. But we touched on it last episode is really around not getting so fixated with the end result and kind of spend some time focus on the journey, fall in love with the journey. And I saw something very timely. I'm going to share my screen for those not watching. We'll read this off, but very timely and very relevant. And I want to get your thoughts on this. If you can't see my screen, we'll read this out. So this is Instagram. We're going to look at AJ Brown's page. He's a superstar Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver on the Super Bowl. So he posts 2 days after winning the Super Bowl. He says, after a few days, I've had time to reflect on being a champion. I tried to feel how everyone made it seem to be a champion, and unfortunately, it was short lived. 2 days to be exact, lol. I've never been a champion at the highest level before, but I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head and surrender because he can't F with me. The intense battles, early mornings, late nights, sacrifices. I love putting smiles on people's face, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't what I thought it would be. It's the journey that I love the most. Back to work. Dude, what do you think about that?
So one of my buddies, one of my mentors is probably the better word for that. Shout out to Coach Coob. He talks about this all the time, right? And he's not the first person I've heard to say this as well, right? That if you're always looking at that finish line, you're actually like so in the chase for that goal at the end, right? If that's where your eyes are, then you're not paying attention to all the little nuggets that you're picking up en route, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
you might still accomplish that same end result, right? But if you could be present in that hunt, right? Then when you do get to the end, you're going to be so many more layers, right? Versus like just the title, right?
Right.
And I think again, dude, I think that goes hand in hand with all the things we've been talking about, right? Most even my yapping, right? Like most people like my yapping. It's and because all the yaps is just how I got there, right?
Mhm.
It's not where I ended up that like people are like, oh, that's cool, right? It's
Mhm.
all the stories in the middle that people want to hear. And no one's ever said if I can honestly say this, dude, and I it's funny because I I find myself chasing end results. I always have to dial it back because just in the world that I live in, you can't afford to look ahead because people get hurt. So you have to refocus often and be present in the moment. But it's funny because everyone that talks to me, like if they come in and you know, they see all this crap up on the wall, like that's the end. And they see
Mhm.
that and they never want to talk about that. They want to talk about everything before this,
Right.
the journey. And that's also where the best stories are. Because it's just funny the different various paths that people take and the weaves you web and how that you can actually see that whole like butterfly effect like come to life, where like this one person that this unsung hero you didn't even know about was really almost like a linchpin in where you ended up. You know what I mean?
Oh, that happens, yeah, all too
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
Dude, so my big one of the things I wanted to relate this back to is, we talked in the last episode about people being fixated on, I see this most often with financial goals and like the salary, the raises, the income, and it's this mindset that I hate, and I only hate it now because I was guilty of it until I learned like how powerful it is. But like when you get so fixated on the goal, or I'm not everybody has these ideas like when I hit this stage, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to start working out when this happens. I'll be happy when I hit $1 million. I'll stop, working so hard when I get the raise. And it's like you're so focused on that. And I think AJ had this experience of like all he could think about was the Super Bowl. I got to win the Super Bowl, got to win the Super Bowl because that's all people talk about. When he realizes, like, if you don't fall in love with the journey, one, it's usually not worth it when you get there, right? Like I've seen so many people, they chase this millionaire tagline. You hit $1 million and they're like, okay, now what? Like, now what do I get up for? I don't feel any different. I don't, do anything different. So if you don't create a life or create whatever the goal is that you're trying to shoot for, if you don't fall in love with that journey or the how or the way to get there. And I know you talk about this a lot. I've heard you tell me about, clients or people reaching out to you about, hey, what do you think about this diet? And like you've
Oh,
said,
God.
and I'm chopping your words, you're like the best diet is the one you're actually going to do because you can actually commit to that journey and commit to actually
Correct.
making that a part of your life versus you think you're going to take the magic pill and in 30 days have a six pack. And that's just the mentality that I think it just honestly it hurts so many people in the long run. But I know I think it's probably ultra prevalent in the fitness space too. Do you agree with that?
It's shallow water, right? There's no depth in any of this, right? The heads up keto fans, you're about to comment your ass off. One, only in America do we think it's cool to put our body in a state of ketosis, right? Starvation. In other countries, it's a real problem. And they don't think it's cute that they can see their abs and ribs. They're starving. They actually would like food, right? And the problem is that everybody's so focused on that end goal. One, I can't say that on here. Know this: if you're a skinny dude with abs, it's not impressive. That just happens. I can't say the other part of that line because
Hey,
then we will get canceled.
easy
Yeah, but
taking shots.
hey, some people are skinny fat because they like alcohol. But no, dude, it is. It's a shallow goal, and guess what happens when you get there on something like that? Say you are the butter coffee guy keto, and you're like, yeah, I put myself to starvation. I lost 50 pounds, and now I look real good. Yeah, your arteries don't look that good, and oh, by the way, this is not something that you'll want to sustain for the rest of your life. So you're going to go back to being like you were because it's not who you are to begin with, right? It's
Mhm.
not something that you're gonna stick with. What you're gonna stick with is the lifestyle that you have developed, right? So you want to carve out a lifestyle that is sustainable with your habits, with your long-term goals, with your family and what that is, right? Like if you want, you ever notice like the most like, gosh, someone's gonna, whatever, feelings. I hate feelings. But like most people that are like super in shape and super ripped, right? And all chopped up are also super single, right?
Mm.
Because that's what they have time for, themselves, right? I got
Mhm.
multiple mouths to feed and one on 4 legs full of fur that does not care how I look, just wants to, attention and time, right? And that time takes away from something that I'm trying to go, right? So I can tell you this, dude, I'm 42 years old and I've always been in the 10-12% body fat, and I've never once counted my macros because I developed a lifestyle that I know I can maintain with minimal effort, right? I just avoid crumble cookie, Coca-Cola, and all the BS that somehow the FDA is cool with, but you can't like have supplements that work. But so yeah, dude, it's not, they're watered down goals. And like, I think the most important part of this that number 11's bringing up is the emptiness of it all at the end of the road,
Mm.
right? Because a lot of times too, with these like benchmarks that we set, they're selfish in nature, dude. And you'll find out that like, you know, yeah, if you made it, you're a millionaire. Well, that boat's not any fun out on the water by yourself.
Yeah, so Tony Robbins, if you don't know him, he's like the most famous life coach. I think he like invented the term life coach. He was like a real one, not these Facebook $100 a month guys. But like, he's coached like presidents and shit like that. But anyway, like his one of his famous sayings is success without fulfillment is the ultimate life failure. So like he's like, you know how many depressed billionaires that I meet with on a monthly basis? It's like because you spent all this time focusing on that carrot at the end, but you didn't think about anything about that journey along the way. You know, and now you finally made it there. You had to slay the demons along that trajectory to get there, and now you're
Right.
freaking miserable. You're out on your boat by yourself and wondering what the hell happened with 20 years. Why don't I know my kids? Why didn't I do all that? But I have all the accolades, I got the raises, I got the money. And I think money is the best example where people do that, but you can apply it to any goal that you set. Like if you don't create a lifestyle around the things, the inputs that get you to that output, like you're just creating, you're setting yourself up to fail either mentally or actually not even achieving that goal in the end game. If you have a
Correct me
different
if
take,
I'm
but
wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. But like Elon Musk, right? Scary, smart dude, wicked smart, right? And has has worked himself up up on the hill doing God knows what. And there are probably millions of business moguls that idolize this man, right? And like, I want
mhm.
to attain this level of success and da 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 da. Well, success is measured in many different ways. And I can tell you, and this is where I need you to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Elon Musk whose daughter went to court to legally change her name because she wanted zero affiliation with him.
I can't confirm, but that I'm pretty sure I heard that too. I mean, I think
Yeah,
he's got like 14 kids or something like that.
oh my gosh, really? Then he never had a chance, right? He's just we know what that's about then. If that's true, then the whole thing to begin with was just for guilty pleasures and with no follow through. The right, everybody with a kid's not a parent. Uh, but the bro, the to me, you failed. You got $1 billion and your kid made a at a point that dislike what you've done as a human being so much doesn't want to even be affiliated with you through name, like and I'm not, again, right, I'm just, if the zeros is the goal, I mean, hey dude, it's your one chance, Go for it if that's what you think is gonna. But I'm telling you, I just feel like there's more to the relationship aspect of life, right? It just feels
Mhm.
like a deeper connection. And it's also, if we look at this, is going to seem way left field, right? But if we were to look at our prison system, those cats in solitary confinement don't make it out well, if at all, right? Like there's some real science out there and psyche that needs to be like studied. Is like human beings do not do good alone, right? At all. So it's even the military taught me this better than anybody, right? Because it's all the crappiest situations with my buddies that I look back and like love the most.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Dude, the military, that's a perfect example too of dangling that carrot, that retirement carrot.
Oh
It's
man.
like, I'll do this when I retire, when I hit my 20, when I'll be happy when. And
Yep.
it's
When
like,
I get this next
but
rank, when I yeah.
yep, and then the big thing that actually scares me a lot too for, mostly my parents and family is that our retirement system. Most people set up, "Oh, when I retire, I work so hard now so I can retire," and then what? Sit on the couch? Like,
And
if you
die?
don't. Right, and I think the body, I mean, there's a lot of data out there to support this, but, like, if the body doesn't consciously have a reason to get up and do something every day, like, it starts to shut down. It's like, "All right, we're no longer needed here." And so that, I think the whole mindset around retirement and with the goal to do nothing, I think you always have to have at least something like you're shooting for. It doesn't have to be monstrous big, but like either
No, you
enjoy the day to
purpose.
day and right, either purpose. Yeah, whether it is like I'm getting up to do these are, I'm happy with the small things, or once I get there, here's the next goal, and but you can't, if you have this monstrous goal with nothing beyond it or no plans on what to do when you get there, like you're just setting yourself up for a massive letdown, depression. To look at the
Brother, this
Olympics,
is
this was another thing. Like, that these Olympics that come back after there's like, they work 4 years for this, times like a 30-second race, and then they lose and they
correct.
come back. Like, they're on like suicide watch for, I mean, that's like a very heightened scale of what we're talking about, but I mean, same concept, right?
Well, and do you know why? They're on suicide watch, bro, because if you look at the let's say sprint, right? One, the genetics that you have, right? It's not, you can work your ass off. I don't care. If you're not genetically built with the correct type 2 muscle fibers, you will never be an Olympian sprinter, right? Ever. And everybody that you see on that racetrack when they line up and then they take off, what name me an Olympic sprinter you know? Name one.
Usain Bolt.
Exactly, okay, and the other one's Michael, and the other, d do you know, name me the 2nd place Olympian that lost to Usain Bolt?
Negative.
Right. Name me the 3rd, the 4th place. You can't. They're non-existent in your memory, but let me tell you something, before the Olympics, wherever they grew up, whatever school they went to, everyone knew them because they were genetic freaks and they were the fastest person that anyone ever seen in real life, right? But when they
Right.
get on that big stage, people only remember Hussein, right? And they halfway only remember him not because he was a top Olympic sprinter, but because he had a dynamic personality, right?
Oh,
And
100, yeah.
yeah,
He branded the
but
shit out of his name, yeah.
yes, sir, yes, sir. And do you know, if we broke it really down, he actually was not all that special as Olympians in the past. We just have better gear, better tracks, better the like. You can get into the nerd exercise science realm of that. We're better at training now and recovery and da 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 da. But if you went back to like the 50s, he is faster, but he's also in twice as light clothes, and we have body glide and all this new stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
But again, not to I was about to super nerd out, but yeah, so to get back on, I digress. But that's why they have to look out for them because they forgot the journey, dude. They were, because they've been told to it's the same in the NFL, dude. You've been told this whole time, like, cool, you're in the NFL, but if you don't have a ring, bah. And you know what they say to the people
Mhm.
that get rings? If you get a ring, well, I mean, you hear Pat McAfee and them talk about it. Well, why doesn't he have a gold jacket? Why is this dude not in the Hall of Fame? Right? And then guess what happens when you're in the Hall of Fame? You probably think about putting a shotgun in your mouth because there's nowhere else to go. There's no other ribbon to hang to say that I'm a good dude or girl or whatever, right? You've hit the peak, and like at the pinnacle, dude, there's nothing. Right at the top of the mountain, there's just open, dead space. Right,
It's lonely up
all
there, yeah.
that's right, dude, and all the depth is in nature, in the trees. It was in the forest you had to plow through to get up, right? And hopefully you were just bending branches out of your way and not snapping them, because even if you go back down and you broke everything in your path, it'll be a lonely path. That's
Exactly.
pretty good
And I
analogy on
think
that. Yeah, just did
that
that.
is, yeah. I almost, like, was kinda thinking about dodging some trees and stuff there. But I think to take it all the way back, like, instead, like, I don't wanna just kinda bitch about this and, say all this bad stuff, but, like, talk about, like, what can you actually do, right? Like, what's the answer? And I think, like AJ Brown talked about, like, it's the hard work. It's the, getting back after it. Like, okay, cool, got my ring, check the box, but I'm ready to get back to what I actually enjoy doing. What I think, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, what it comes down to is you build an identity around the things that you enjoy doing and your purpose. So, like, his identity is he wants to get up, hard work, late nights, sacrifice, so he can, feel that feeling of seeing a DB smoked or their head down. So, like, for me, what I want to get your thoughts on, and, like, because I know you talk a lot of folks in the physical space of, like, what do you actually do? Are you cautious about setting the high, or do you talk about just incorporating, these physical activities in your daily life, like build a lifestyle around this? Like, what are your thoughts on how
No,
you
dude,
actually
you'll
solve
you'll
this big issue?
well, one, you as a person have to look a little deeper in you. It's not even, I know what he said. It's not what he yeah, he enjoys that because it's in the moment. The smoking the DB, right? Yeah. He enjoys that in the
Right.
moment. But the real thing that he probably enjoys more and just hasn't really put thought to it, right? Even doing that interview, dude, he's still actually taking in the fact that he won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That all that still hasn't really processed, and it won't until he doesn't have a chance to do it again, right? When he's finally
Mm.
told to hang up his jersey, then he'll take in the actual fact that he did it, right? Right now, he's not concerned because he's got another season coming up. You know what I mean? And what he really enjoys, if guaranteed, right? I've never been a professional football player, but just as someone who's always been a part of a team,
Mhm.
when when military dudes retire and off themselves or go into like these alcohol benders or end up on the out in front of Walmart and bum clothes with a sign saying I need help, is because they lost purpose, right? And that purpose was their identity. And that identity was being a part of something bigger than themselves, being on the team
Mm.
that had this overall purpose that was greater than themselves, right? And I think
Mhm.
anyone who's experienced that, that's what he will see that he misses the most, right? It's the whole reason that, remember when everybody wanted Brett Favre to die, and and they were just like, why in the hell? Why in the hell does this dude keep coming out? He's only getting worse. He has to know he's getting
Right.
worse. Let me tell you what Brett Favre knew. Brett Favre knew that we were getting smarter as far as recovery methods and extending the life of an athlete. And I mean, he stretched it. But Aaron Rodgers is right there, right? But
Mhm.
it's that longing to be a part of that community, of that team, right? Of that bigger than me thing. And it's not, sure, it at some level, because we're just innately like selfish, there are like these records and stuff we want to tick. But at the end of the day, dude, no one wants to be told that, like, hey man, it's time to sit down,
Mm.
especially
Yeah.
when you've been at the highest echelon of whatever it is that you're doing, right? No one wants to be told like, "Hey, nah, man, it's your time is up," because essentially you're telling that person like, "Hey, your little hourglass of sand, it's running out, man.
Here you go.
Like, and people literally feel like, and if you think about this, that no one really takes into account, right? We'll stay on football. Do you remember Johnny Football, Manziel?
Yeah, yeah.
You remember how pissed off people were about how he was acting?
Oh, yeah.
Have have you ever have you ever in your life, dude, just think about our first couple of episodes and what we were talking about. That's what
Mhm.
we were doing. Johnny Football was getting on a private G6 with LeBron James going to Vegas to play cards and, like, throw money around like they're napkins. You know what I mean? No one You're mad because this dude's acting his age? Because he's showing out and or doing this? Are you kidding? That's a kid, dude. That's a kid who's experiencing something that's so surreal you couldn't even imagine. If someone came up and told you, bro, if someone came up to me right now, and was like, Coach Cotton, can you sign this? I'll give you $80. What? Yes. What do you want? Yes, absolutely. What do you?
Uh,
I'll keep signing until my hand falls off, dude. This kid he was a kid, bro. He's a kid. And what's even funnier is that now he'd be completely legal and it wouldn't even be a problem.
that's hilarious, yeah.
Yeah, but just to say, that, like, so it's not, and while everybody was pissed off, do you know what Johnny was doing? Really?
Partying his ass
Enjoying
off.
the journey, bro. He was enjoying
Yeah.
every minute of it, because I think there was, like, this big he has a gr that's it's a great little Netflix series. I mean, that
Yeah,
absolutely just yeah,
Untold, yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's brilliant in the way that it shows from a multitude of angles, right? The psychological damage that it does, putting a young man in that kind of limelight and under that kind of microscope, and what what instant success does to a person, what that looks like, and how I think he was such a bottle rocket and went up so quick because he was talented, dude. And if you have not seen that
Aw,
documentary and you're listening, I highly recommend that you understand that Johnny Manziel took down the University of Alabama after smashing like a case of beer. Like, the solo did it, right? Just as a
before A&M was what they are now, I mean, he put them on the map, dude.
Yes,
And
dude, and he put them on the map with a hangover and coming back from the other side of the country on a private jet, living life, dude, just, like, going bananas with all this that, by the way, he didn't really ask for, just happened to him, right? And again, like, with the right mentorship, dude, he he he'd be in the Hall of Fame. He just didn't have anyone in his camp, dude, to really, like, him up and be like, "Yo," everybody wanted to instead, dude, one, there's this thing in human nature that I just find revolting, right? Where, like, something violent breaks out, and now we seem to be in this culture where everybody just steps back, pulls out their iPhone and film. No one has the balls to get in and, like, actually help, right? Whether for
mhm.
whatever reason, incapable or worried about lawsuits or what. It's called the Good Samaritan clause, like, get in there. But the with Johnny specifically, from just this is just my take from the documentary, rather than try to help keep him grounded, those around him were like, you know what? I'm gonna sit in the second seat back here and see how far this ride goes for me, you know?
Hey.
Uh Yeah, dude. That's God, that's a great with what you're talking about, dude. This is a
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
it's
I
a
think he's almost a visual representation of what we're talking about. Like, we got to see, but the carrot, like, to bring it back, the carrot was the NFL. And he got to the NFL and he's like, that shit doesn't fly here. And then he realized, oh, I'm fucking miserable. And like,
yeah.
he was in rough mental shape. But I think a lot of people go through that all in their head. We just got to see it with Johnny because obviously he was in the limelight. But yeah, I mean, perfect example. I mean, my big thing is like you need to enjoy the journey, but I think relative to Johnny, I think he took it a little far. But to your point,
Yeah,
21 year
yeah.
old.
Well, and still, yeah, yeah. So young man, and you gotta realize too, dude. I'll be straight up with you, right? Like everything I did in my life on the way through just kind of fell in my lap or was forced, right, by attorneys and whatnot. But the I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, right, until I was in my like mid 30s, dude. I didn't find out that what I was like truly passionate about and wanted to do. And I would tell you, dude, that I think that in a bunch of cases, right, especially with sports, man, and sports and probably you could probably tie this to anything. I'm only tying it to this because it's what I know, but sports and the military, dude. I've seen so many people that if that's what you chalk up as like this is my identity, right? If
Mm.
that uniform is all that you have that establishes like who I am as a person and my purpose, well, you don't have a whole lot of depth and you're only playing that game for a limited amount of time. And when you're told that the game is over, this is when we have all these problems, right? Because
Hmm.
you put yourself in a box, right? I think and just also why I think that it's safer to have a goal of like, you know what? I'm going to be the best dad I can be. That's got some longevity in it, right? And I think there's I think that people need to realize like that's what happens too along the way in this journey, right? You earn these extra hats. You might be chasing this one thing, but life happens and you end up with these additional duties, so to speak, I guess, or whatever term you want to put with it. But and if you take each one of those with some gratitude and some humility and know that you're not the best right now, but if you just sit back and work hard in that journey, you can become good in all these areas. That when one of these things do drop off, right, someone tells you you're too old or you just ran out of time or whatever, right, there's still more about you, right? I think people really struggle when they focus on the end goal, like we're talking about, because that's what they're establishing as who they are as a person, right? I am a millionaire.
Yeah.
All right, well, now you are. And what?
Or yeah,
Right?
I'm a master sergeant. I'm a, whatever, insert
Yeah,
your
dude.
rank here. I think that,
Yeah.
and then you get to walk around all day
I'm an
with that.
NFL wide receiver. Well, you were,
Right. Now what? Well, you
and no
got
one cares
this.
about you now because now that it's the same as you go back to your, let's say, Calvin Johnson, Tampa Bay Bucks. No one cared as soon as Odell Beckham showed up. As soon as AJ
Mm.
Brown showed up, no one cares, right? My favorite all time, Julio Jones. But there's always, and guess what, dude? Not only is there someone new that showed up, but they were watching you and they took notes, and now
Mm.
they're better than you. And if that's your only identity, dude, well, you just got real upset with yourself. You know what I mean? Like maybe to be honest, Tyler, now that we're talking this out, right? I think this is the danger with with looking ahead and not enjoying the journey is that you establish this single point of who you are as a person, this identity, and then once you get to that finish line, if you have not picked up any depth along the way, dude, well, you're about to have an identity crisis, right?
Which an identity crisis is a true crisis. I think it took me a long time to realize that. But like, if you're not, because we all tell each other, we all have a story we tell each other, ourselves. And if that story, you don't know where to go, where it goes from here, or why you are, that starts to run crazy in your head. And I mean, I've heard a couple like very successful people said like guard your identity with your life. Like, if you like, it's very bad. It can be a bad idea to tell yourself like I'm an idiot or I'm a this or I'm a that, because like if you start telling yourself you believe that, and like your identity can run rampant and send you down the wrong rabbit hole. But what you got a thought on that?
Yeah, real quick. The person who, and there's a lot of bias in this, what I'm about to say, because I'm a huge fan. It's a bromance with this dude. Tim Tebow had an
Mm.
amazing book, dude, about his whole journey and being like all the college success that he had, and then to go into the NFL and him be and make no mistake, the organization totally screwed him because of who he was and his beliefs. And they did not want this like they didn't want any focus to come off of the football, right? Make no mistake
Mm.
about that. That's what that was all about. Is we don't want to turn any attention away from the sport. And so because of that, he was already hung out to dry before he even got a chance to get started, despite coming in behind Goofy Sanchez and being better. The Mark Sanchez. But
Right.
the
Butt fumble.
Yep, thank you. And he
Yeah.
came in and did it, dude. But he will tell you, and everybody knows Tim Tebow's Big Jesus fan, da da da. So there is a lot of identity there. But what's in his face day in and day out is Tim Tebow, the athlete, and so that was the majority, I would say, of who he had wrapped himself up as his identity, and to make it to the next level and be mocked about it, and he, dude, and you knew he put in the work because that kid stacked on like 30 pounds of muscle after the first season.
Mhm.
It's crazy how thick that boy got, and he he said like that almost broke him to
I
be like
bet.
just kind of cast away, like, and never even given a chance, really, right? Because everyone was afraid that he was going to Tebow in the end zone and take, the focus elsewhere, which is just laughable. But the he put in there, and I'm not. This is paraphrasing because I don't remember it word for word, but in his book, he basically said in there at the end, like if your identity is anything that is wrapped up in something man-made, like as if that is the depth that you have is something is, basically like a materialistic thing and a man-made thing. If you don't have something that carries more weight than that, then you're ultimately going to be let down. Like your purpose needs to be deeper. It's why there's so many religions and why people have used religion to shape people's paths in life, dude, because people want to know. Everyone wants to know, even the people that aren't religious, right? Or the whatever you are, right? Everybody still at some point in time in their life asks three very important questions that we've had all this multitude of religions trying to explain, which is how did I get here? How did I come to be? What happens afterwards? And what is my purpose now? Why am I here? To do what? And you know, and I can tell you just as a person, and you have this perspective too, which is why I think it's so important to get out of your bubble wherever you are. If you can get the means to go and see something else, do it. Do it, do it, do it. Get out of your bubble, get out of your community, get out of your safe place, go somewhere else and get a different perspective to open your aperture up to a more meaningful look at life, right? And I will tell you that religion aside, right, out of all the people I've met, all the places I've been, one thing that is concrete and true to me is that, again, going back to that isolated person, no one wants to be alone, dude. No one wants to be alone. Community
Mm.
and it's I imagine it's why even animals, move in packs, Yes, there's a couple of solo critters out there that eat their own and stuff. I'm not stop whoever you are, that guy that analyzes every particular little thing that is being said. We're not talking to you. Okay. Remain cynical and alone.
Black mockingbird is one
You're
that stays
right.
alone.
Yes. And it never mates and da da da. It's born, flies away, lives by itself, and dies alone. You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. And
Oh
you
gosh.
too will be a purple mockingbird. But for the most part, everybody I've met, dude, it explains, dude, it's why we have hate groups, it's why we have religious groups, it's why we have sports
Mhm.
teams, it's why we have the mom's book club, you know what I mean? Because everybody wants to be a part of something, dude. And it's also why things kind of fall apart at the end if your goal is something that shallow as well, right? This one liner, right? You need
Mhm.
depth, and you need layers, right? You need something that's got some substance to it to avoid what you're talking about, where, you know, AJ Brown again, dude, like right now he doesn't realize. You know what's funny is AJ Brown has never once brought up the fact that, dude, he's already in the top 10%. He's in the NFL, bro. You know how hard it is just to get in the league? You know how hard it is to
Mhm.
get in a D1 college and play football? And now out of that, you got the top 5% that actually go to the league. And then out of that, you still have another less percent that actually even gets playing time in the league, that become
Right.
starters, that don't get cut after their rookie year, you know, that sign the big contracts. He's got a pretty decent contract. And
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so he's thinking that he's already established all this, probably has tons of promotion deals, right? And but yet this whole time he's missed the fact that he's checked a million boxes of success, but he hadn't even seen it because he's just looking at this ring. And now the ring's on, and it's like, but I still want to play,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I guess that was my perspective. Like I took that as he, all these things that he thought he wanted. What he really realized is I enjoy the journey, the hard work, the
Yes,
getting
dude.
after it. Now, I mean, I know he talked about the DB stuff, but I thought that was a
Yes,
perspective that was relatable back to you can scale that down all the way to, however you want. It's if you don't fall in love or enjoy the journey to some extent, no matter what your carrot is, once you take a bite of it, it's gonna taste like dog shit. And you're gonna
bro.
wanna
Let's
know
take
where the
this
hell to
back.
go from here.
Let's take this back real quick, full circle, dude. Do you know what's wild, Tyler? When your boy is up and out of the house, as one of mine is, and they're having all this success in their personal journey and what they're doing, and you're watching it, dude, and it's the coolest thing, and you're like, oh my god, dude, I raised this like capable human being that people want to be around, that they admire, and et cetera, et cetera. Do you know what you're going to miss? Yelling about socks.
That is a fact, and I don't doubt it.
Yeah. Nah, it's
Yeah.
real.
I mean, I for sure don't. So I guess two things in wrapping up. I guess like I said, to be kind of tactical and like if something practical that somebody can go do. Like if you're in this situation, you have your heart set on whatever X way down the road, some big goal. Like opinion, and I read a great book. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. But it's basically saying like instead of chomping off this massive thing, this massive diet, money goal, whatever, that you're probably going to get burned out on because you don't know all the things involved with getting there. Like just get like try to do 1% towards that direction. Like if it's healthy, like maybe this week we're just going to cut out like one thing and like just be happy with that. If you do that for a full week, you get used to that. That becomes your new norm, your new identity per se. Then you go like, let's get 1% better, and over a long period that compounds. Instead of you cutting out, not eating anything ever made with sugar in it for a month, and then you're binge eating, binge drinking it through your life, that's probably going to end up a lot better off in the long run. And I guess the second part is think about like, and for me anyway, this is from my perspective, think about, I think you touched on it, something that has some long. I know both of us dads, like that's forever. Like, there's no milestone out there, no flag. You eventually never check a box like, okay, I'm done being a good
Correct.
dad. Now where do I go? Like, that's
Correct.
forever. So like think about what journey you're on and like where that ends, and is there something beyond that, or can you take it along. I think that's one reason why I do enjoy business as much as I do. I think Alex Hormozy said like the only goal in business is to stay in business. Like there's no end to the road. I mean, some people like, build business to sell or whatever like that. But for most normal small businesses, it's like, how do we make sure we're going to be here next month and the next month? And like, it's just kind of perpetual thing that you can incorporate a lifestyle around, a purpose, a daily things that you can do to just stay productive, stay active. And I'm sure same with fitness, right? I mean, your goal should be to be active all the time. And even if you're a couch potato now, try doing one squat every day next week or something. But you're the fitness coach, so I don't know. I don't know if you share that same
Celebrate it.
thoughts, but that's, I guess, to put a
Celebrate
bow
it.
on like the whole topic. Yeah. I mean, my two
That's
cents,
what I think it
my
is, dude.
professional
Stop
opinion.
stop looking so far down the road, and because I think this is the problem, dude. We have, dude, there's so much like entitlement, dude, because I got this title, I made it to this end goal, and so I deserve this, da, 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 da. And people often forget, like, one, almost no one got there alone. And the best way to remain present and focused on and live in that journey, right? And enjoy that along the way is one, gratitude, right? And
Hmm.
celebrating that, right? Having the being grateful for where you've made it so far, and stop and take time to celebrate that fact that, like, because guaranteed wherever you are at in that journey, right, someone has already fallen off who was trying the same thing, right? And either, who knows what, right, personal issues, medical, something derailed them from that path, and they were on the same path and journey that you were. So you need to be grateful for where you are right now and celebrate the fact that you've made it that far, right? Because, dude, when you think you're in control, life has a really good way of reminding you that you're just lucky you didn't get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, yes, sir. God, that is that is
Or
the
break a
weirdest
finger.
looking. Yeah, dude. And and you wouldn't have cared the day before that happened. You wouldn't have cared that you were able to successfully close all those fingers, expand and splay, and use all your appendages, right? And now you
Shit.
really wish you could go back to a to 5 fingers. You know what I mean? So you I think it really, man, and because again, in my experience, have found out, and to include myself, we often get lost in this very selfish tendency about things, rather than stopping uh, to really show some gratitude for where we're currently at. Right? I can tell you, dude, like, my daughter keeps talking to me, and I send it right back because I want her to be successful and I want her to go for her goals. But every time, she's graphic design study, right? So every time we start talking
Mm.
about her portfolio and building that up to get, in that program, and to her next step, right, in her journey,
Right.
in the back of my mind, dude, the whole time, God, I hope she listens to this one. I'm sure she will. But in the back of my mind, dude, that thing that she's about to put in her portfolio, like, when I get off the phone with her, dude, I sit in that, and I celebrate that, like, man, dude, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Right.
She's just knocking it out. She has no idea, like, that. And for me, dude, in my movie, and from my perspective, she's already won. She's already a success, dude. Right? Like, she's already there. Right? And that, like, it just wows me. You were like that with me all the time. Every time you come and tell me this, and I just be thinking, like, damn, that is crazy that he's already checked that box off in life, or he's already, when you, to I hate to keep reverting back to this, people probably tired of hearing it, but when you were like, nah, I'm pushing in my chips, I'm done here, I'm going on to the next thing. I was like, the fact that, like, I knew there was no turning back. You had already made the decision. You were already appropriately set yourself up and all that. I was just like, you were already a successful corporate person in my mind already, because
Mm.
I was watching your journey from the outside and knew that you had the appropriate mentality and tools in hand to be successful. So in my mind, you were like, you were already there. It was zero surprise to me that when you finally got in there, that it was a zero surprise that there was a struggle in the beginning, because that's everywhere you go, right? The first one through the
Mhm.
wall is always the bloodiest. But did I think that you were going to call me one day later and be like, this just wasn't working out? No, because you understand hard work pays off, and head down, eyes up attitude. And the dude, if you didn't work, if this was the last episode that we do, I think you have been wildly successful in this podcast. Make no mistake, everyone listening, Tyler does all the work. He just tries to wrangle me in. The dude, it's just wild. And I think that that's very important, right? If you want to live in the journey, in the moment, and be present, then you have to stop and look at where you're at. You have to really, you got to slow down, man. We do everything's so fast paced now, and everything's about, no one cares what someone did for you yesterday. It's the whole, what can you do for me today, and mentality and attitude, when really it's okay to stop and look at what you've
Man.
accomplished.
Yeah, smell the roses a little bit. And one thing on
Yeah.
that too is that everything's relative. It's like most people
Yes.
don't celebrate anything because it's they think they did something cool. Hey, like hit my diet today. I go on social media and I saw this guy, did whatever. But if you just like tune all that out, it's you,
Yes,
man. All you
dude.
got to
God,
beat
such a good
is
point.
you got to beat that guy that was in the mirror yesterday, and that's it. If you do that, then you got to throw your hands up, celebrate, pat yourself on the back. I mean, that's it. With that, we do got to start wrapping this up. Are we going to be able to keep the cool story bro segment alive? I'm going to flip it to you.
Flipping it to
What's
me, cool
cool?
story.
Any cool stories? Interesting stories?
I do. Okay. Yeah. Man, how do I want to word this? Yeah, I do have a cool story, dude. But in I'm trying to figure out how to word this and not get in trouble, dude. So cool story,
Send it.
right? Cool story. So I said this earlier, right? I had to pull up to the school and pull my son, my 14-year-old son, out of class to have an adult conversation. And so when is it old enough to have feedback with your kids? Well, I'm trying to explain adult concepts to a 14-year-old, right? I'm trying to explain vocal tone, body language. So these are adult concepts, right? And how it is perceived through someone else, right? And so to be honest, right, I just did a feedback session with my son. It was just a one way, right? And but I did it with humility and grace, right? It wasn't like, I know this, you don't. It was more of, in my experience, because dude, let's be honest, right? Do either one of us, do you really know what your wife's thinking? I'm every day I'm
I
it's my best
wish. Yeah.
it's my best guess, dude, right? It's my best
Right.
guess. But I do know all the things not to do for sure, right? And so I'm trying to
Yeah,
share
facts.
I'm trying to share my journey with my wife, with my son, because mine has been much, much longer. 21 years this year will be 21. And dude, he was able, cool story. He was able because I made sure, I try to keep it as level head and as transparent as I could be about the whole situation, and as honest as I could be. That right, that and honesty in the form of like, hey man, this is on being honest with you. This is my best guess here, right? Do I really know where you know what I mean? Do I really know where these thoughts and stuff come from? No, but I know that it never goes in a positive direction when ABC happen, right? So if we can change,
Mhm.
these things, then maybe, we can find better understanding. And rather than, and this was cool to me, dude, because I believe this goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about. And I believe this is from years of me trying to be present in the moment on my journey to what this is. This, we've talked about this. This is something that really matters to me. And dude, unsolicited, right? I didn't give him any follow-on instructions. I gave him advice, right? I just gave him
Mhm.
some advice. And on his own merit, right? Unsolicited. he sends a text to my wife, and it has to be text because he's in school. It's not, and I respect the fact that it was in text because to me it showed that he needed to say this now. He didn't want to wait
Mm-hmm.
and get home and do it in person because it was on his heart and he wanted to say it right now. And dude, it was like, I don't know, it was a caring sense that honestly, dude, I didn't really know that he not that my son's he's on the tennis team, and the coach just told me today he's the nicest kid on the team, hands down. And I know he's the coolest kid. I'd rather hang out with him than some of my adult friends, right? But dude, I just didn't know he had that compassion about him, dude. And to see, of course, Kim, the screenshots, the text message
I
says it to
melted
me.
her.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Well
Now it's just
done,
gonna
Ty.
now, yes, dude. And it will be about follow through now. But but dude, that was a cool story moment for me because she sent it to me. And it's gratification. And I will tell you 1,000%, dude, that I did stop, smell the roses, and live in that moment for a bit to know that, like, hey man, that's where my dude is today. That's the kind of man he is. And you know what? Damn, I'm happy with that, bro. I'm super happy with that.
Dude, that actually legit, he might have taken the cake for cool fucking story, bro. That was awesome. Bring it full circle, give yourself a pat on the back, dude, and win that dad award of the day, man. That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, so good.
Well, cool. Yeah, no, that's seriously, that's super cool. But with that, we do have to start wrapping this thing up. So, any parting thoughts from you?
Thanks for, Miss Cindy, Reed Dollars, everybody out there who is continuing to listen in and support. And please continue questions or things you want to hear. Otherwise, Tyler has to pull this all out of his head and he needs help because I'm useless. But thank you for
Hell yeah.
listening. And I genuinely hope that like Miss Cindy said, dude, that she listened to the first one and like resonated with her. She didn't go into detail as to what, but I do know from previous things like this I've done in the past, there is always something that someone out there hears that is super beneficial to them. And so I hope that, we can continue to do these and reach somebody who's waiting to hear something that we got to say that we don't even know is that important.
Yeah. No, well said. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. We just really want to hear from, you guys. Engage with us out there wherever it makes sense for you, whatever platform you're on. Try to be out there. But don't, I mean, I think we really do enjoy these. We kind of have these conversations anyway. So if it does help, let us know that it helps. So we do get a little extra motivation to do this. We did hit, I forgot to tell you earlier, we did hit our 100th stream today on Spotify. So
Sweet.
obviously not doing it. Yeah, I mean, not doing it for the vanity metrics, but it does feel good to know that, hey, somebody's listening out there and they came back to listen for a little bit more. So always cool there. So, but yeah, honestly, let us know what topics you guys want us to hear about. Yeah. I think we got lots of opinions on lots of stuff, but want to kind of know what you guys want to hear more about. But with that, that's all I have, man.
That's it.
Go ahead and wrap it.
Yes, sir.
That's it. We'll see you next time.